Hello, welcome to this next set in the low poly kind of variant playlist. So we've made our can, we've made a base texture, and now we're going to make some modelled variants. So what I want is my low poly can. I no longer really need the high poly one, but what I'll do is make some copies of this. So if I press Shift and D and then right click to drop that, I create a new copy. And I should be able to continue doing that until I've got, say, 4 copies. And I'm just going to rename these. Let's call this one 04, even though it's our first. So I'm just going to hide all but the second, and then we'll go to the sculpt room. Now we can use this to, or the sculpt room, just to change the geometry. I just want to move the vertices, so be careful to stay away from tools that add geometry to your model. So I'm going to use this elastic deform. I'm just going to change my radius up a little bit, and then we'll grab one side and crush it down. There we go, crush the back a bit as well. So there we have a variant. Here you can see the text is deforming, as you kind of expect it to when you crush a can. It doesn't look, it's not perfect anymore. Okay, so what else can we do? We could go on to our next one, and for this one we could perhaps just crush it in a different way. Perhaps I need to come out of sculpt mode and then go back into sculpt mode again. Let's go to object mode, and then whoops, having a bit of a moment here, back into sculpt mode. There we go, just because I've changed models. And now I can change my brush again and maybe crush it down in a slightly different way. It's I'm on the wrong one, that's why. Oh dear, having a right moment here. Right, out of sculpt mode, make sure I've got my correct object selected, back into sculpt mode. There we go, that's working. So I can use my elastic deform again and increase my width, and perhaps this time I'll crush it down a bit. Give it a few variations. Perhaps dent it in a little bit, perhaps reduce my size a little, just have some smaller dents. Nothing too drastic, it just needs to be different to the other ones. Careful not to move it up. You see I'm smearing the kind of texture there. That's why I'm in texture mode, texture view mode, because I want to be able to see the texture to make sure that it's not getting out too far. But I can just move left from right and crush it down, and that should look fairly consistent. There we go. So now we've got one with the top at a different angle, and that's all good. You don't have to use the sculpt tools. We can simply do it using normal kind of translate rotate tools, and let's have a look at that. So I'm in edit mode. Can I select it? No. Let's go to object mode, make sure I've got it selected, and then go to edit mode, and now we're okay. So one thing we can do here, if I perhaps select a polygon or a bunch of polygons, I can use this mode up here. So I've got the connected only, of course, let's do that anyway. We can have a sharp or a spherical, all sorts of different options here. Whatever I do will happen with a fall off around it. So if I press G, for example, you see I'm moving, and it's moving everything. So let me undo that. So what I want to do is press G, but then actually change the fall offs. And I'm not seeing, it's typical, isn't it? I'm not seeing where that's happening. So if I actually just use the move tool here, and then I can change my proportional size. So it's a 1 at the minute. That would probably be way too big. So if I make it 0.1, you'll see that some of it springs back into shape, and if I make it 0.05, even more of it will. And then I can push that in. You'll see that we get a more harsh kind of shape here, because it's based upon the fall off you've selected, and the amount of polygons you've selected and where they are. So if I select here, for example, and use my move gizmo, see that's moving quite a lot. I can reduce this again, perhaps by half. I can change my fall off to a linear, and that will give me another effect altogether, a much more kind of sharp and flattened kind of effect. And you don't have to select just one polygon, you can select more than one, and then we can do that again. See, that one is a little bit too sharp, or too spherical perhaps, so let's do a smooth, and you'll see that that's smoothed out that movement. It's kind of falling off between the polygons you have selected and the distance that you set on your proportional size. Let's make that 0.05. There we go, and we have another crushed can. Up here is not doing too well. Let's grab one there and move that back out. I'm really going to reduce this now to say 0.01, and then we'll give that a pull. So it's deforming a bit up the top, but not too much, but that's not too bad at all. Okay, so essentially that's it. Make a copy and then edit your models until they're different. How different you make them is entirely up to you, of course, but what we're looking to do is have enough variance to make a collection look random. So when we use these in reality, we're going to scatter them across a large area, and we want them to look all different, or to look enough different to make it realistic. Now the next part of that we'll do in the next tutorial, and that's basically taking our texture, which we made in the last one, and updating it, making 2 or 3 different textures to mix around our variants. So I will talk to you in that section. Okay, so we have our variants now, and what we can do is go back to Substance Painter, or our modeled variants at least, and we can take this top layer and change it. So if I turn these off one by one, we'll see what's going on. So that's the base color, that's the stripes, that's the text, and what's that one? That's my gradient for there. So these ones I'm going to, or not that one, this one I'm going to leave on, and that one I'm going to leave on because that's my how can I put it, that's the label on the back, which I'm not going to change, but we can update these. So let's go and pick a different color. So let's have, say, blue, perhaps a bit lighter. There we go. And on our second one we'll switch out our stripes, I think, for something else. Do we have kind of bubbles or spots? Yes. Let's see which one of these are more suitable. Let's drag and drop that one on there. They're a bit grungy. Well, I should have known that. They're in the grunge area. So let's go Gaussian spots. There we go. And now we'll jack the contrast up, and we'll go 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 0.10, 0.11, 0.12, 0.13, 0.14, 0.15, 0.16, 0.17, 0.18, 0.19, 0.20, 0.21, 0.22, 0.23, 0.24, 0.25, 0.26, 0.27, 0.28, 0.29, 0.30, 0.31, 0.32, 0.33, 0.34, 0.35, 0.36, 0.37, 0.38, 0.39, 0.40, 0.41, 0.42, 0.43, 0.44, 0.45, 0.46, 0.47, 0.48, 0.49, 0.50, 0.51, 0.52, 0.53, 0.54, 0.55, 0.56, 0.57, 0.58, 0.59, 0.60, 0.61, 0.62, 0.63, 0.64, 0.65, 0.66, 0.67, 0.68, 0.69, 0.70, 0.71, 0.72, 0.73, 0.74, 0.75, 0.76, 0 and the balance, just make it look a bit weird, and then we'll change this color to what should we change it to? Red. Yep. Again, I'm not a designer, I have no idea what I'm doing, generally speaking, when it comes to this sort of thing. Yeah, that's okay. And what have we got? Then we got the text. Okay, so we can change the text. We just need to go to our layer here. What's going on? Is this a paint layer or a fill layer? That's the wrong layer. I want to do this layer. Sorry, I'm obviously having a moment. So this is, yeah, I need to get rid of this now. So I'll delete this layer and replace it with a new, actually I'll do a new fill, and then we'll control that text with a black mask and a paint layer. So now I want a brush. Let's clear these out. Basic hard, and I want the fonts search, and I'll pick a different text. There we go, and this one will be called, I don't know, energy. Okay, so we can see that that's quite small, so I'm going to change my size space to object or texture, and then let's put this one on an angle, shall we? Try and get to there. I'm going to want some sort of better colour on this. I can use, whoops, a material for this. So let's, what should we use? What's a good material for an energy colour? Like a silver lightning, somewhat along those lines, perhaps. Well, let's go platinum. There we go. I could do with somewhat. I could do with it. Do we have anything? No. I wanted it to be a bit more energetic, really, but it's not. Shame. Okay, well, I'm only really sort of creating things that are going to be seen in the background, so I'm not that worried. I could put a layer between these, actually. Let's put a layer between with a black mask and painted, and this time I'm going to go back to my default hard brush and pop a circle down, and then change the colour of that to something a bit jazzy. Let's go yellow. There we go. So, not the best in the world. Again, I'm going to apologise repeatedly. I'm not a designer. But that's our second variant. So for this one, I only actually need to export the colour, because everything else is the same. So let's do that. Well, that's not strictly true, because I may have actually changed a few other things. For example, the roughness. So on this layer, let's turn everything off but the colour. There we go. See, I might want that to be a little bit more exciting. So let's have some metal. Let's make it more metallic. And I could emboss it just to make it stand out a little bit more. So now I've done that, I do need to export everything just to be safe. So let's go File, Export. I've got my normal things here, and I've got everything here. This is going to export them, and is exactly the same names as everything else, which is a little bit annoying. it will overwrite what I've done. So actually what I'm going to do is create a new folder and call it variant, and put that in there, and then we'll export those settings, or export those files. Okay, so back to Blender, and we've got our variant model here, and we can go into the shading room and replace these with our other models, or our other textures rather. So if I go into variant, I'll just delete these out, and then we'll drag and drop all of these in. I think it will only do one at a time, which is thoroughly annoying, but we'll have to do that. Let's delete that one because I don't know which one it is. So we've got colour, and we have normal, we've got the roughness, and we have metal. Okay, let's open this up and then zoom it right in and plug these in as we go. That's my metallic, this is the roughness, and this is our normal. Remember to change the color space to non-color. There we go, and we have a new tin. If I unhide perhaps the original, of course it's applied to that one as well, which is not unsurprising because that's on that material, and I've changed it for all of them. So what we'll do in the next is, now we've previewed it and we can see, it's okay. What we'll do is set up a couple of sets of these, one with one texture on, one with another texture on, and then we'll move on to the next stage. So I'll talk to you. Okay, so I've made some duplicates, and so I've got my first four here, so let's hide those, and these ones should be all essentially the each of the variants that we've got, although I can't see one of them, can't see the original, but that's okay for demonstration purposes. So what I need to do here is go to my material and remove it. I don't want it on these models, so in object mode I can remove that from each of them. I can't select them all and do it, unfortunately, or I don't appear to be able to. That's that one. Yep, it's not hidden. Come on, there we go. So there we are. So now what I can do is for each of these I can create the variant texture, although in this case I'm putting back on the original. So we'll add a new texture, we'll call it Tin Can 2, and then pop over to the shading room, and I need my other textures back again, so I'll go upper directory and then drag those in. Let's bring this up. Actually, let's make some more space. Let's pop that one on there. I'll have the normal down here, got the metalness. Let's pop that into the metallic slot, and we have our roughness. There we go. So all I need now is the normal map from the vector area. I'll plug that into the color, and that into the normal, and change the color space to non-color. There we go. So now we've set up a material which we can share across all of these. Where are we? I need the materials area. And I'll pick tin can 2. There we go. So, whoops, that's the wrong one. Tin can 2. There we go. So now I've got all of my cans together, and we've got all of the materials across each different shape. Now, of course, I'm only showing you 2 here, but you can go much further. You could make, 4 shapes with 3 variant textures or 4 variant textures. The more the merrier, essentially, because the more you create that variation, the more the scene will become naturalistic. Okay, so that's creating the variants, the modelled and the textured variants. In the next one, what we'll do is actually have a look at how I'm going to use them, or how I would use them in a scene. So why am I doing it at all? Okay, so I will talk to you then.